the West used to build the future. Now, it struggles to even maintain the present. And that's not an exaggeration. It's a pattern. Bridges take decades just to approve. Rail projects never get finished. Housing crises are promised solutions every election cycle, yet somehow never get fixed. And here's the uncomfortable truth. The countries that once defined progress are now struggling to deliver the basics. But while all of that has been happening, something else has been happening quietly. And this is where it gets interesting. Because on the other side of the world, a country most people still underestimate has just built something that cities like London, New York, or Sydney would struggle to deliver in the next 20 years. Let that sink in. This isn't a theory. It's not even a debate. It's a pattern. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. The country is Malaysia, and what it just proved goes far beyond infrastructure. Stay with me, because this story gets bigger the further you follow it. Welcome to Unseen Tier. We go deeper than the surface on the stories the world keeps overlooking. If you're new here, subscribe and turn on notifications, because this one might completely change how you see global development. Let's start with the West, because this only makes sense when you see both sides. In the United Kingdom, there's a project called HS2. It was announced in 2009 and was supposed to transform transport across the country. But today, parts of it have been scrapped, the budget has surged past £100 billion, and what remains is delayed, scaled down, and still unfinished. And here's the part nobody likes to admit. This isn't unusual anymore. Look at the United States. The American Society of Civil Engineers gives its infrastructure a C-. One of the richest countries in history is struggling with bridges, roads, and water systems. Some cities still rely on lead pipes. Rail systems feel outdated. Projects cost more, take longer, and deliver less. So the question becomes obvious. What exactly happened? And it doesn't stop there. Australia has spent years debating high-speed rail between its major cities. Studies have been done, reports have been written, discussions have continued, but nothing has been built. And this is where things begin to shift, because while all of this was happening, Malaysia was building, not debating, not delaying, building. Kuala Lumpur today has one of the most functional urban rail systems in Southeast Asia. Multiple lines, integrated systems, clean stations, reliable schedules, and most importantly, people actually use it daily, consistently, without the system breaking down. Then there's the Klang Valley MRT project. Over 50 kilometers of rail added to the network, delivered on time, within budget. Read that again, because in many Western countries today, that almost sounds unrealistic. So, how is this happening? How is a country like Malaysia doing this while wealthier nations struggle? This is where the rail story begins. Malaysia didn't have the same advantages, not the same accumulated wealth, not the same institutional history, not the same global influence. What it had was execution, the decision to build and the discipline to follow through. And that gap between deciding and actually doing is exactly where the West has been losing ground. Think about what it takes to build anything in a major Western city today. Regulations, approvals, environmental reviews, legal challenges, political cycles. By the time a project gets approved, it's already outdated. Costs have risen, plans have changed, and momentum is gone. Now compare that to Malaysia. It's not perfect. It has bureaucracy. It has political challenges. But when a decision is made, it moves. And that changes everything. A regional urban planner once explained it like this. In the West, you try to solve every problem before you begin. In Asia, you begin and solve problems along the way. One approach produces reports. The other produces results. And that difference is shaping the future. But this isn't just about infrastructure. This is where it becomes personal, because this affects everyday life. In Kuala Lumpur, people can move across the city affordably, access healthcare without financial stress, eat well without constantly worrying about rising costs, and still live in a modern, functioning city. Now compare that to major Western cities. Housing costs taking up a third of income or more. Transport becoming expensive enough that people avoid it. Healthcare systems under pressure. Food prices rising faster than wages. So ask yourself honestly, which system is working better for everyday people? And this is where the shift becomes impossible to ignore. Because the people noticing this first are not governments. They're individuals, expats, remote workers, young professionals, people comparing their options and making decisions. And more of them are choosing places like Malaysia, not because it's perfect, but because it works. And that distinction matters more than people think. Now zoom out. For decades, the assumption was simple. The West leads and everyone else follows. But that assumption is breaking. Quietly, consistently. Countries like Malaysia are not trying to catch up anymore. They are building their own standard. And in some areas, they are already ahead. That doesn't mean the West is finished. It still has strengths. Innovation, education, institutions. But the promise that it delivers the best everyday life experience is under pressure. And Malaysia just proved it. Not with speeches, not with reports, but with results. By building, by delivering, by making systems work. And here's the uncomfortable truth. The West isn't falling behind because it's weak. It's falling behind because it stopped doing what made it strong. So now the question is simple. Can the West fix this? Or are we looking at a permanent shift? Let me know what you think in the comments. I want to hear your perspective on this. And if this made you see things differently, subscribe to Unseen Tier. Because every week, we go beyond the obvious and explore what's really happening beneath the surface. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. The next story is already in progress. I'll see you